For tonight's presentation, I'll be doing my presentation on access to Old Sacramento for individuals with disabilities. I'm using 3 of my evaluation questions that I'll be answering throughout this presentation, being how compliant are Old Sacramento streets? Does Old Sacramento streets meet best practices in accordance with Americans with Disabilities Act ADA specific guidelines? And how do the disability inclusion groups that I've interviewed about this issue feel about Old Sacramento's accessibility for disabled individuals? The first results that I was able to measure was through an audit tool created based off of metrics from ADA guidelines from the ADA website, which are based off of sidewalk width, sidewalk surface texture, curb ramps, trip hazards, crosswalk pavement markings, and whether or not a crosswalk is perpendicular to the roadway. And the location, a visual location representation of where I measured these metrics were between the intersections of I Street, J Street, K Street, L Street, Front Street, and 2nd Street. And based off of the measurements that I was able to gather, Old Sacramento seems to be very compliant with the ADA when it comes to, for example, sidewalk texture being safe for disabled people and sidewalks being less than 5 feet wide, or street sidewalks being 3 feet in width. It seems that Old Sacramento has done very well when it comes to my measurements for ADA compliance. And this picture on the left that I've taken when doing my audit tool measurements, I believe best encaptures visually on how I measured the metrics, being a curb ramp here for being disabled individual friendly, crosswalk pavement markings, and the sidewalk width and the sidewalk surface texture being even. And the other results that I've gained were from interviews that I've interviewed through 3 disability inclusion groups, being Alta California Regional Center that I found through the Department of Developmental Services, Resources for Independent Living, a staff attorney from Disability Rights California, and a senior engineer through the city of Sacramento. I believe throughout all these interviews, the senior engineer gave me the best insight on Old Sacramento's ADA compliance in particular. And he said that he was part of a team that actually made Old Sacramento to be ADA compliant through their infrastructure plan. That explains why on my audit tool that Old Sacramento was able to pass all the ADA metrics. And within the past 10 years, Old Sacramento was made to be compliant through its sidewalk surface texture, its sidewalk width, and all metrics like that. And one of my other questions was, are ADA compliant infrastructure included within transportation plans? And he said, yes, in transportation plans, ADA compliant infrastructure is included generally within their plans, which shows that transportation planners take a great deal of care to make sure that ADA compliance is part of every plan that they're creating. And I also want to know another important point, that is Old Sacramento have plans of making more ADA compliant infrastructure in the future? He said no, because Old Sacramento has already been made to be ADA compliant through the past 10 years.